What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And here we are again for another Talkin Tackle. And you guys know how it goes at this point. We got some awesome guests just coming in and I'm loving it. So in tonight's Talkin Tackle, the tackle that we're going to be talking about is going to be swim baits. And I don't mean those big swim baits that everybody's wanting to talk about. I mean the little finesse swim baits. We're really going to get into these little finesse swim baits and how they really can be effective. And you want to know who the guest is on tonight's Talkin Tackle? Mr. Jagon Fishing himself. All right, guys, I'm gonna get on to it, and just because I know you're probably on the edge of your seat, so let's get to it, and I hope you enjoy it.
All right, here we are for another Talkin Tackle. And eventually I will do these live. I do want to get to doing that soon. I think it's going to be a lot of fun once I do start doing them live. I just was not recording with Jay, and I introduced my puppy Scout to him, and he's actually going to probably be on YouTube before this video because I got a puppy video at this point. But this is Jagon Fishing. His name is Jason. You go by Jay though, right?
Jason.
Jason. Yeah. I go by
Jagon.
Jamie, you know.
Whatever.
No, yeah. We're both Jays here. But go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, and let's get into it, man.
What's up, y'all? Jagon Fishing, aka Jagon, aka Jason J, Crappie Chulo. I mean, I'm all over the place with the
Throw them everywhere out there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. We are going to be talking some finesse swim baits today.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
And you look like you're all set in the background there too.
I'm in my garage. I got all the tackle wall up here. This isn't all my stuff. Most of my stuff's in my boat, but this is kind of the extra stuff.
Yeah.
But I do have some finesse stuff laid out here. Show you guys. I got my rod all set up. I'll go over that. And then if you want to check out any of the other stuff over here, I got all kinds of fun stuff.
Can always, I'm always about the nitty gritty, really. I was just saying that I don't have a whole lot of confidence in swim baits. I think mainly because I pond hop, and it's just, they're expensive and they're tough. You know, they're one of those things. I feel like if I was out on lakes more, I'd probably use them a lot more. But because I'm out on ponds, I'm standoffish about them. I think my garage door just opened up by itself. There. Oh no, she's recording me. Sorry, my bad. She's like doing the behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, gotta get it for the gram, right?
Can you give me that Gatorade? Oh yeah, that'll be a good one for the end of the video. It looked like the door legit opened all by itself.
It looked like you saw a ghost.
Yeah, see, even Jay said it looked like I saw a ghost. That's gonna be good for the footage. Yeah, she legit, the door just crept open, and it's real cold, so like it wouldn't shock me if like the pressure opened it or something, you know. That was funny. Okay, well, I'm awake now. Sheesh. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna mainly talk about that finesse swim bait. And you're in what part of Texas?
Central Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And I fish mostly Central Texas. I've been doing a little bit of West Texas and East Texas here and there, but mostly these clear water lakes in Central Texas, which are very difficult to fish. It's not like your East Texas where it's stained, Sam Rayburn, all that stuff. It's clear. You got
clear can be tough.
Yeah, you got natural springs, so the water's clear, the fishing's tough. So that's why I grew up in Illinois, so I did a lot of jig fishing. I did a lot of like rattle trap, grass fishing and stuff. And I moved down here, and I kind of had to change up my game plan as far as how I fished. And it took me a while, but I've got down to the point where I'm fishing these finesse swim baits, and let's just show you one. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking finesse swim baits.
Yeah.
It's
I was just gonna say it's a jig head, right? With just the regular soft bait on the back, right? Our swim bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And we got, I fished probably 3 or 4 different types of jig heads. And then probably 2 or 3 different types of swim baits mainly. And just kind of rotate that in and out.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, just trying to figure out, like today I was out on the lake and I have this Okashira screw head. It's got a little
propeller. Yeah.
Well, you know how it goes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Okay, that didn't happen.
All right, yeah, so it's got a little propeller on it, right? And it spins. And my guy that I was with, I had him throwing one of these, and I was throwing one without it.
Okay.
And just the difference that the fish would not eat this one today.
They wouldn't eat the propeller today.
They would not eat the blade.
Okay.
Just for some reason. So I had him switch over, and I had him actually downsize to this type of bait right here.
And that's just like a ball head, jig head, right?
It's a little ball head,
a round ball,
and a little swim bait.
Yeah.
So that's what we had to switch over to, and we started whacking them on it. So It all just depends. Some days they want that blade, that spinning head, and some days they don't.
And now, is that because of the flash, or is it the sound, or is it like, I guess, all of the above, you know? I
think they're just very temperamental, and they do what they want. And it's clear water. So maybe that blade is just a little too much.
That makes sense. Clear water is definitely intimidating to me. I feel like once I get on clear water, I think it's going to be a whole new challenge, because most pond waters, whether or not it's clear or not, they still have like a hue of brown to them. You know what I mean? So like, it's not clear water is not the same, like super clear water. I've always heard that's the toughest water to actually fish, because obviously the fish can see you the best in clear water, and they can see the line, and you have to hide everything. And, you know, speaking of line, like what kind of line, you know, do you actually throw it on?
So if I'm with myself, I try to go with 6 pound to 8 pound. If I'm up with clients, I usually up it to like 10 to 12, just because when I'm out with a client, they're either going to like really set the hook, or they're not going to like finesse it where you're
talking fluorocarbon, right?
Fluorocarbon. Yep. And I use braid to fluorocarbon. So this is my setup.
Nice. Okay. And you use a spinning combo. That's cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Shimano Stratic. This is 20 pound.
20 pound braid.
And I'll use 15 to 20 pound. And then I got the fluorocarbon to the ball head.
Little guy.
Yeah, this is a 3/16 ounce ball head.
Nice. You're answering the questions as it goes. I love that. That sometimes kind of goes with the flow there, because like I kind of enjoy because that's what I asked. I was going to ask what weight ranges do you prefer? And so that's 3/16.
Yeah, I'm going to break it down.
Man, go for it. I'm all about it. I'm good with not having to talk as much. I'm tired. I'm raising a puppy and I'm up all the time. So I'm here.
Yeah. So, and it all just depends too on like how deep you're fishing. I fish a lot of forward-facing sonar stuff, so I'm always targeting areas that have either brush, trees, rocks, and if I'm fishing around heavier cover, I'll up it to 10 to 12.
Okay.
But it's always fluorocarbon leader because the water's crystal clear here.
Right.
So, and then depth-wise, if I'm fishing from 1 to 5 to 6 feet, I'm throwing a 1/8 ounce head.
Okay.
And then anytime from like 6 to 12 to 15, I'll bump it up to a 3/16 ounce head. And then if I'm fishing any deeper than that, I'll fish a 3/8 ounce head.
Okay. So you don't even touch a quarter, huh?
I usually don't go that high.
Okay.
But summertime I do, because with a heavier head, you can work your bait faster.
Right. And that's, what triggers them a lot of the time, because they're looking to just attack them. So, well, I guess it depends, because I don't know how they actually act in clear water. Do they act a whole lot different? I don't know. I guess that's a fair question,
They're very temperamental, and they're very from day to day. And with the live scope and the forward facing sonar, you can learn so much about these fish and how they're behaving and how they're reacting on your bait. So today, within 5 minutes, I knew like, we're not using the screw head. We're using just the ball head. It's going to be simple. And just like that,
And you were on a trip today, right? You were doing a guide today?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were targeting crappie mostly, and we ended up catching some bass too, which there's always bass around the crappie, which is another thing you learn with the live scope.
Yeah, I've heard that their patterns are actually more similar than people realize. I actually learned that probably decently early on, because I was curious about crappie, and I learned, or crappie, it all depends, tomato.
Yeah, it's all the same.
But yeah, I've heard that they travel a lot, like they have similar patterns to largemouth. Yeah,
and then the difference between the crappie, the black crappie and the white crappie is the black crappies have the spots, and the white crappies kind of have the bars. And it's hard to kind of tell them apart, but once you start catching a few, you know the difference.
Are there magnolia crappie out there?
There are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones with the big, you know, permanent marker stripe.
Line, yeah. Everybody talks about those. Yeah.
Some of them have them on their lips too.
Oh yeah, that's cool. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's cool. It'll be exciting to catch those one day.
Yeah, and they're all mixed in. So we were catching black crappie with white crappie, and magnolias are all mixed in there too. You just never know kind of what you're gonna get.
That's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've always wanted to, like, it'd be cool to go on like a guide trip and see how that goes. But you're the actual guide, so you're the one teaching and doing all that fun stuff. So you had them on the ball head jig, and it was how light was it again? I'm sorry.
We were going with, I had a 3/16 ounce, and then I have this 1/8 ounce. So this is the BKK 1/8 ounce, and this is just like fish candy.
Little guy. What color is that?
I don't know the exact color. It's more natural. So everything I throw is natural colored. This is kind of like a gray with a clear belly. This is a spark shad in real color.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's like a lighter, almost like a ghost color.
And then white. Throw a lot of white.
White's a classic one. You can't beat that.
Yep.
Do you ever throw like a soft jerk bait kind of plastic on, like a fluke style or a dart style, or is it always paddle? Okay.
Summertime for sure. Yeah, but right now, like the winter time, I mean, I catch fish on these little things year round.
Yeah.
But mostly the winter time is when they really like to eat it. Which I guess we're going in the spring now down in Texas. I mean, it's gonna be 80 degrees tomorrow.
I'm jealous. Here it's what? So it's March 12th. I know this is March 12th now, and it's actually not going to show for a few more weeks because I'm letting them go on Thursdays, and I got a few more to let out. So I always try to clarify it somewhere in the video of what day we're actually on. Here we're in the 30s right now. I don't even know if you can hear it. I have a heater right here. I don't know what this part of the country decided it wanted to do, but we're in the 30s, and we're going to get down to like 19, and we have gusts of like, well, we had like, supposedly we had gusts of 40 today, and it was a constant, like just 20 mile per hour going all day today. So it was like 80 degrees like a few days ago. Oh my God. It's miserable. And poor Scout, man, he doesn't want to go to the bathroom at all outside. He's just
neither would I. I mean,
yeah, me either.
The floor sounds great.
Right. It's right about now. But so it's been, I'm jealous that it's going to be 80. It'll catch back up here in the next few days, but here today and tomorrow and kind of on Monday, a little bit, it's going to be lower on Monday, but it's not going to be as cold. Like it's literally going to get down to 19 degrees tonight. That's ridiculous. We're in the middle of March almost, but it always happens. It's like a Georgia curse or something. Every year it happens here just for a couple of days. We're always like, yeah, spring's here. And then nope. It comes for 2 days and then it's out again.
Second or third winter. That's
yeah, right. Yeah. We don't have 4 seasons. No, I'm just kidding. We really do, thankfully. But I wish spring would last a little bit longer. I was hoping for an early spring, and it kind of teased there for a second, and then we got whatever this is. It's some storm. We literally had snow flurries today. It wasn't a lot, and they were like very random, but they were there. So, see, I don't even have earrings in. Normally, I have my gauges in, and I've been
but it's so cold that your ears
no,
cold.
It's the pup. I'm telling you, I'm too busy to even put earrings in. He's been just full time. If it's not going out and doing actual work, then it's me being here watching him and getting him all right with the world.
Yep.
So, but sorry, I'm ADHD, so I kind of go around the world. So yeah, I'm glad you understand.
This is gonna be a good one. We're both ping ponging.
I do it all the time. I think it makes it more interesting too, because really it's like getting to know you, and then it's kind of like getting to know, I mean, people already kind of know me if they've watched these already. I feel like this might be a new one because you're the first to see me after Scout. So now we're seeing how that works. I'm hoping that, he ends up being the best puppy in the world like he has been, and I'm going to end up not being so tired, I guess. I mean,
yeah,
it'll
work out, and then you'll be able to take him on trips, and he'll be going to fishing with you.
Oh man, he's an outdoor dog, man. He's gonna love it. Perfect. He's already great on a leash, and I'm excited to get him out and actually take him out fishing and stuff, and having him see what's going on, because he'll be great at it. He loves to be outside. Not when it's this cold though.
Yeah.
But so we talked about your reel and your rod a little bit, but how long was your rod? I didn't ask that.
Oh yeah. So I've got a 7-foot rod. I like to throw these on a medium with a moderate fast tip.
Okay.
Just because I like the fish to be able to get the bait, grab the bait, and not immediately just get rip out of their mouth. So I like to have it where it'll load up a bit. And then when you're fishing these, you really don't need to, set the hook on them. You just kind of reel down to them and just lean into it.
So they kind of set it on their own in a sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd be surprised how many times the bait is just right in the roof of the mouth, like right where
it's like the perfect place. Yeah.
The very perfect place. Yeah. And I ain't gonna lie, I've caught some huge fish on these little itty bitty baits.
Nice.
Like a 3-inch bait, my PB, or not my PB, but my biggest bass on this little bait here is 927, I believe. Oh,
well then what's your PB?
11.4.
Yeah, you Texas people, man. I tell you what. No, I'm just kidding, man. I'm after like an 8-pounder at this point. I caught a 5.82, and that's my PB right now.
Anything I want to get out there is fun.
Huh?
I said anything over 4 pounds is fun.
Yeah,
that's a big bass.
Yeah, it was great. But now I'm chasing after I'd like to get an 8. I'm trying to skip over like 6 and 7 and just get to like an 8. That'd be cool. That's kind of like my next goal for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, man, 11 pounds, that's a hefty fish. But 9 pounds on that little dude, that's super impressive. And on 6 pound, or what kind of, do you remember what line you had on there?
It was 8 pound.
Yeah. See, you remembered.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was in a tournament last year, and I thought I had a catfish. I was like, there's no way it's the bass. And
wow.
She came up, and
did you have the big fish?
I had so it was a big bass tournament. It was Cabela's Big Bass Tour. Yeah. And I did have the big bass for that hour. And so that tour, the first hour of the tour, some guy caught a 14 1/4.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I got some work to do.
That's intimidating. Heck yeah, especially if you're competing.
Yeah. Dude. So it ended up holding up it was the 3rd biggest bass of the tournament. But
wow. That's still pretty impressive. I mean, how many people were at it? Do you remember?
A couple hundred.
A lot of people. Wow. Yeah. So that's impressive still.
Yeah.
Did you get anything for it?
The bass, I got $1,000. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that works out. I mean, hey, catch a big bass, win $1,000. Sounds like a pretty good day to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was enough to pay for my Airbnb, pay for my gas,
and the gas and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, you're putting maybe $5 in your pocket. It's fine.
Yeah. Well worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it must be somewhere for the tournament anglers, and I mean, you got to have a passion for it. I honestly believe that, because it's not cheap. It's definitely not a cheap thing to do to be a tournament angler. So you got to have a passion for it, I think. It's
not cheap, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of driving. It's a lot of sleepless night. Yeah, it's a lot.
Especially when you're trying to be like a YouTube content creator as well, on top of whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Because you got that extra to do, and whether or not you're getting paid for it, it's still that much more extra that you got to do. And, you feel like you only have so much time in a day or in a moment even, I'm sure. So that's a lot of work. So, but
yeah,
definitely a passionate job or passion you have to have. So,
yeah.
All right. So what else do we got? You guys said you were going to the nitty gritty. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about the different types of ball heads. So yeah. I use a lot of Gamakatsus. These are some of my favorites. The BKKs. I don't have a package of those. Those are really good as well. Mega Bass, Okashira screw heads.
Nice.
And then I got just the Okashira heads as well.
Okay. Yeah, and they're swim bait heads, yeah?
Yep. These are all for the little mini swim baits. And then this is the Hazadong shad.
What brand?
Mega Bass.
Mega Bass. I can't, it was like shining on it. There you go. Mega Bass. Nice. It's like a little white with, does it have kind of glitter does it have in there?
Yeah, it's white and it's got these black flecks in it.
Is it black? I couldn't tell if it was black or blue. It almost reminds me of it's called some kind of milk or something like that. Something I have, it kind of reminds me of that.
Then you got the spark shad.
Yeah, I've heard about those, of course.
And then we've got the Kitex. These.
And what links are you preferring most of the time? Like, I know because they all come in different links. So what's the preference there? Or you know,
the smallest you can possibly get. So the Kitex 2.8s, these are 2.8. The or not the Okasha, there's too many things back here.
That's all right.
The Hasdong shads are 3-inch. The Spark shads are 3-inch. We got some saucy swimmers here.
Yeah, those are good. I've been killing it lately on a saucy swimmer with a belly weighted hook because I fish a lot of lay down and wood and stuff. So I worry more about getting caught. So it's kind of essentially the same kind of deal, but I wanted a little bit of weight. I was throwing a 1/4 ounce.
So you're basically there. You're there with the finesse baits.
Yeah. Oh, I do like using them, but I don't typically use the actual swim bait head, and so I didn't, it's kind of the same, I guess, belly weighted hooks. I was swimming it along the side. I actually caught a 4-pounder the other day on it, and it was cool. It was nice. I like catching things, and it gave me a good little fight. That was exciting. But I totally like the saucy swimmer. I don't have them over here because they're in my bag currently, but it's that pro blue red color, and it's got like that. Something about it just seems to get the bass's attention in my ponds. I don't know, because it mimics a bluegill so well, I think, and it just seems to get them going for sure.
Nice.
Go for it.
Yeah. So we got those are mostly the ones I use. I'm trying to see if I've got anything else back here. But yeah, just slow rolling, and it just gets them. And you can see, I've had the live scope for a few years now, so I'm able to see it firsthand. Steady retrieve. Okay. I know a lot of people like to reel it,
pause it,
and reel it, and jerk it, and reel it and jerk it. 99% of the time, it's just a steady retrieve, and then they'll follow behind it. They'll follow behind it. They'll follow behind it, and they'll just grab it.
Really?
And then it's on.
Wow. Okay. Because see, people, and that's going to be a debating thing, because a lot of people I've heard have said, like you said, that, when they think of a cadence, they feel like they have to put a pop in it or something like that. But like you said, you're watching them on scopes. So you're really on sonar. And so you're really paying attention to what they're actually doing, which I think is fascinating. I really wish that they would come up with something like that for ponds a little bit better than what they have. There's options out there, but I haven't heard the best thing about some of the sonar balls and things that you can throw out there. I want them to come up with something as accurate as what you put on front of a boat. You know what I mean? That would be, it would be game changer. You know what I mean? And to be able to see the actual changes and personalities, I guess you could almost say, coming out from the bass and how they actually act to your bait, it really would be just a whole nother game change if they had something like that for the ponds, because I think that's so fascinating that you can actually see them move on your sonar, like actually what they're following and stuff. And a lot of the times they say if they are just following it, you can, do you get followers too a lot of the times that don't commit? And do you throw something else in there, or you keep at the same thing and they eventually
it all just depends. If it's a solo fish that I'm just targeting, if I see them out there swimming around, you usually get 1 or 2 shots at it because it'll either follow you and it'll get to the boat and it'll just straight down.
Right. Because it'll see the boat or something, right? Yeah. So you got to you get 1 or 2 shots in the clear water like that on these bigger fish. And I got to keep reminding myself of that. Your clear waters are such a different, and this is what I enjoy about this too, is because we actually get to talk about how your scenario is different from mine. I really do have to keep reminding myself that you're on clear water. And so if people don't know about clear water, I've never actually fished full clear water, but clear waters, I've heard, just a whole nother level of difficult when it comes to trying to stump the fish. So.
Yep. And you've got to keep your distance. I will try to stay 40 to 50 feet away from these fish.
Wow. At
all times, because as soon as you get into that zone, they know you're there. They know. They can either feel the boat, they can feel the trolling motor vibrations, they can feel. I've had them, you literally cast out there and they're so finicky that as soon as your bait hits the water, they're gone.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I just, it almost makes me more anxious to go try and fish it just because I like a good challenge. You know, I prefer to go to more pressured ponds simply because it's like it feels more accomplishing to catch a fish in a more pressured pond than in a farm pond or something like that. Because I feel like if you go to a farm pond, they're going to bite anything you throw at them, you know, especially when they're never fished. And it's fun. I'm not, you know, I love doing that too, but it's like, it just, when I go to pressured ponds, I try to like have a mindset of, all right, you may not catch a fish today, but if you do, it's a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Because you put in the time, you know, you thought through your techniques,
right?
Like maybe you tried a few different baits to try to figure out what they're eating. And then if you succeed at that, it's like catching a double digit in public waters.
Right. It's something like you, especially when you look at it and you can see the setting in front of you, you're like, all right, I got this tied on and I'm going to throw it right there. When I caught that 4-pounder the other day on the swim bait with the belly weighted hook, I threw right on top. I was like, I think it's going to be a little shallower. And you see, I don't know if you can see, I know I saw it. I don't know if you can actually see it in the video, but the whole, when it landed on top, like landed in the water, the whole wake just like took it. And I was like, that wasn't all my bait. Like, there's no way. And I sat there and I waited and it took it. And it was a 4-pound fish and it fought me. And it was just, it's cool when it all kind of works together and comes together like that, you know. Exactly. It does feel a lot more accomplishing.
Absolutely. Yeah. But well, you're gonna have to come on down.
I do need to, for sure.
Put you up in the Airbnb. We'll get you out on some of these lakes.
I tell you what, when I go to, I'm gonna have to bring Scout too, but when I go to Texas, I'm gonna have to like make a whole, I'm gonna have to like just tour Texas, because like I know so many of y'all in Texas. Like I literally just did one with Tiffany, and I know you hang out with Tiffany.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and then like I know Weston, and I did one with Weston, and so it's like I don't know. There's a lot of people over there in Texas, and y'all just it'll be
Texas
fun.
Texas has a good fishing crowd.
It's like it feels like y'all have like the biggest fishing crowd, at least in my world. I mean, maybe not in everybody's, but like I know more people in Texas than here in Georgia.
But Texas is also huge too.
Biggest state in the country, right?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know California's pretty long, but I think Texas is bigger. So I mean, as far as like, where's the time and place where? Why pick up the small swim bait and everything like that? Do you do it as like a default, or I don't know if that's the right word. Do you try other things first, or is that just like your go-to now because you fish the clear waters and you figured out that's just what works? Do you try other things? And
I like fishing other things too, but it's just really hard to put it down when you know
that's what they're gonna want.
You can cast down a pile and they're gonna come out and just smoke it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I
find there's nobody else doing it here that I'm aware of. No, I mean.
Gonna let the secret out in the video?
I mean, probably, yeah.
I enjoy it. I totally get the point.
Yeah, there's people out there that are live scoping, but I feel like I've been doing it probably, I mean, there's guys out there that have been doing it longer. You know, Josh Jones, he's been doing it probably the longest. But I've had it for 3 years now, and I've been using it nonstop.
From day one.
Yeah.
Because even if they've been using it longer, it's a matter of the time. I feel like that's something that you got to put your time and effort into, as far as like almost like hours booked when you're getting like your pilot's license or something, you know, like you got to, the more hours 100%. You spend doing it, you're going to definitely get to know it. And it's going to,
because there's definitely a learning curve on it. And there's a learning curve on getting to the point where you can see something and just knowing your equipment, knowing your rod, your reel, your trolling motor, your forward facing sonar, where it's pointing, the arrow on your trolling motor, to where you can literally see a blob, fire out there, see your bait hit right behind it, roll it across the top of it, and know that fish is going to smoke it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And like, so do you primarily, you said today you were catching more like crappie mainly, like, so crappie like that lure as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I figured as much. I mean, I've seen that. That's one of the more popular kind of setups that they use for crappies, right? Just some sort of little jig head with some sort of little swim bait or something on it. Just usually they're like teeny tiny. I have a lot of those setups.
Yeah. And I do have some real small ones, but it seems like the bigger crappie want to eat that bigger bait.
That's cool. Man, makes sense. You always want to get for the bigger crappie anyway, right?
Yeah. And speaking of big crappie, the guy I took out today actually caught the unofficial lake record.
Oh, wow. How big was
the
it?
lake that we're on. And we filed all the paperwork today too. And it was really cool.
Wow. How big was it?
1.68 pounds.
Wow.
So not huge, because I mean there's 2 pounders, 3 pounders.
Yeah, but I mean,
but for this lake, it's the biggest.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if I caught a 1.5 pound crappie right now, I'd be pretty happy. You know, it's a good sized crappie.
Yeah. So those bigger, I mean, they're bigger for crappie fishing, but they inhale it. They crush it.
That's cool. And I mean, like when it comes to I don't target crappie as often, but I like crappie. I do primarily fish largemouth, but what's the technique with crappie? I feel like that's the question I always have. I see guys go out there, and is it the sonar that really gets you on top of the crappie? Is that really like the biggest thing? So like anywhere else, any other time, it's just not going to be, it's going to be hard to spot.
I mean, it's going to be very difficult, and I'll be brutally honest. I know there's people out there like, oh, you have live scope. It's because you have live scope. It's hard to find fish without it. You can find, and I feel like this is just the progression of fishing. Like, where were you at before side imaging and down imaging? You know, were the same people saying, oh, that's cheating because you have side imaging? Or, you know, now that we're at the live sonar part, it's like, oh, that's cheating because you have live sonar. And, oh, no, it's a tool that you can use.
Yeah, it's progress. It's kind of like you
learn
actually
how
get
to use
study
the tool.
Right.
Like, just because you have live scope doesn't mean you're going to catch the fish. There are hundreds or thousands of fish that I've tried to catch that I couldn't catch.
Yeah, just because you know they're there doesn't mean that they're gonna come to you just willy-nilly if you call them. You know, it don't work like that. You
have to, you know, it's like a lady. You gotta, you know, treat her right, and she might bite.
That's true. So, you gotta talk sweet to her a little bit.
You gotta, you know, a little bit of, hey, you want this? No, okay. Well, maybe you want this. No, not so much. No,
how about this?
Yeah, how about this?
That's funny.
Yeah, so getting back to the whole locating the fish. Once you locate, especially this time of year when they're all grouped up and they're about to spawn.
Yeah.
For the crappie, once you find, like I'm on 4 or 5 different spots right now where they are stacked, like hundreds deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's a lot.
Once you find them and you're able, so most of these spots are under docks, and you literally have to skip in a you know,
certain spot,
1 foot wide by 1 foot tall hole in between these floating, you know, jugs that hold the boat dock up. And if you can't skip in there, you're not going to catch them.
So you're skipping that there? The little jig head you're skipping that under there? Is it hard to skip with I guess it's probably easier to skip with a spinning combo, I would think, right? In a sense, because you're not dealing with backlash.
There's a lot of times it'll grab the water, but if you can get it flat and get it up in there, and then they'll smoke it. And it's a lot about presentation and skill and finding the fish and
working with.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it's a never ending. I don't know how to put that. It's like a never ending adventure almost, because it's constantly, there's always something to learn, you know, they'll always teach it. Huh?
Yeah. So today we went out on an afternoon trip. So the sun and there's so many different variables. So the sun is coming from a different angle, and these fish, they don't want to be in the sun. So some part of the day they're, you know, up front on the docks. Some of the part of the day they're in the back of the dock. It all just depends on how that
where the sun is. Okay.
And they want to sit in the shade. So if you're at a time of day where you can't, you know, if those fish aren't just outside the dock, you got to go in to get them.
Right.
And then you got to skip that little bait in a little hole.
And a little target right here.
Way back in there, and then they'll bite. But yeah, there's so many different variables.
That's cool.
And it's not every single dock you'll find these fish, and it's random trees. And the only way that I've found these spots that I have is because I've been bank fishing or whatever, and I'll just keep panning back and forth and just looking. As I'm fishing, I'll be like, oh, well, wow, there's a tree right there with 100 crappie on it. Bloop. market.
That's a lot too. I guess they're stacking up like that though right now because they're spawning, right? I guess. I mean, do they stack up like that normally? I know when you find a crappie, you tend to find them, but like.
Yeah, the only time that I really have good success here on crappie fishing is the wintertime and the springtime.
Okay.
Throughout the summer, I don't know where they go.
No, not at all.
No.
I'm trying to
like
see
November, December is when I start seeing them really starting to get together. And then, I mean, they're about to pop. So after March, they're gonna be gone again.
Wow.
And I don't know where they go, but I'm assuming it's probably really deep.
It must be, I guess. I mean, how deep's the lakes that you're fishing on?
100, 150.
That's deep. Yeah, that's deep. Do you ever deep like the depths of it, like just to try, or nah? Like too deep.
It's so hard. It's so hard to fish deep. I think the deepest I fish is about 30 feet. That's
really.
It.
And are you so when you're out there and you're using your maps, and I know this is kind of off subject of what we're talking about, but when you're out there and you're using your maps and you get out to 30 feet deep, or when you get out deeper, do you find the bass just stop at a certain depth, or do you find that they go super deep too? Or do you know, like, I mean, I've heard that they can ride deep, but I've also heard that they don't go the deepest.
Yeah, I've never seen them deep. I've seen them in deep water, but they're always chasing bait in like 20 foot to no foot of water.
Right.
They're always in that little zone chasing bait.
Yeah, so they'll like go over deep water, but they won't go deep into deep water.
I haven't seen them deep, or I haven't caught any deep.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know. I guess that there must be
truth to it.
There's fish
that live deep all year round.
I guess I wonder how much it changes down there that deep. That's pretty deep for a lot. There must not be much change. There's probably not a whole lot of oxygen down there either. I don't know.
I guess
compared.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I mean, makes you wonder. I mean, they got to be like massive to be able to do that, because they got to be able to like have some lungs on them. I mean, not lungs. They're fish. Hello. Tell you, I'm tired. I'm sorry. Like,
it's okay.
That's funny. Gills, though, I guess that's what I meant, because I know that the larger bass tend to ride deeper. Like when they're bigger, they tend to stay deep longer and more consistently than smaller ones, because they're able to take on more drastic change, and they're able to take on like technically like more oxygen or something like that. They're able to take on the change better when you're coming through the seasons, when the water's flipping around. Big bass can take it better in deeper water or something like that. I don't know. It's these things that I've heard.
Yeah. I haven't really poked around too much in the deep stuff. Most of the stuff, if I'm fishing 30 foot, that's deep for me.
Yeah, that's deep water.
I like to be in that 10 to 12 range.
Okay.
Just because most of my baits can get that deep.
Yeah. Do you do much pond hopping at all? Just curious.
I mean, I used to a lot. Yeah. Not since I've gotten my boat. I just would rather be on the lake.
I mean, I wouldn't blame you. I guess if I had one too, I'd probably be more on the lake too. I love to pond hop. It's like, I think I've just definitely gotten a passion for it. I'm having a harder time getting away from it, just because I think the convenience factor is like the biggest thing with me. Like, I love being able to have all the ponds so close by, but it does eventually get kind of like, okay, I've been here. Okay, this pond probably won't bite today. You like really get to know them more than anything. Yeah. So you're kind of like, I want to change and I want something new. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm getting to. But there are other ponds that I haven't fished yet. So yeah, it's like where I'm from, there's just like endless amounts of ponds. And then the closest lakes are like an hour away, which isn't that bad, but convenience wise,
you can hit a bunch of ponds within an hour, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like,
if you go back on my YouTube, Jay Gone Fishing, some of my first videos are bank fishing. And kayak fishing, and I caught a 10.5 off the bank.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's potential for bank fishing for sure. Yeah. You just got to get out there and hit it.
And then it's just so much more true. I guess it's just more true when you go out on an actual pond, or an actual boat. You have such a bigger chance, I guess, at getting a big fish. I feel like that's true. I know I've seen big fish come out of ponds, but I've seen so much more come out of bigger lakes, and it just kind of adds up. I know that sounds kind of like duh.
You have the ability to hit multiple spots, because with the bank you're kind of stuck. Like say you can't get past an area because there's a thorn bush or there's a bunch of stuff in the way, or, you know, you don't have snake boots on and there's you know, rattlesnakes and there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can only cast so far too, to certain parts. And then, you know, they're like, there's been so many times where I've seen a bait ball right outside of where I could cast to. And I'm like, even if I only had a kayak, you know, something would just something to get that extra like 10 foot out there. And I was throwing like lipless crankbaits, and lipless can get out there. You know what I mean? Like those guys can get out there, and it was still too far out there. And I was just like, I can't even.
Just out of the range.
It's not even fair.
Gosh.
But yeah. I mean, do you want to go over some big swim baits at all? Do you fish those a lot at all? The bigger ones?
Yes. In the summertime, I really like to throw them. In the wintertime, ever since getting forward-facing sonar, it's really hard for me to really fish slow with these bigger soft baits that I have, like the Citizens.
Yeah, heard about those guys.
In the wintertime, you just basically you throw them out, you let them sink to the bottom, and then you just drag them, and then you just bloop, 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 bloop.
Oh, you don't even swim them.
You're knocking around rocks, and it's just crawling around the bottom. You can catch some great fish. It's just very slow and very methodical. I like throwing the K9. It's a fast, erratic bait, and with that clear water, you can see the fish come up on this thing and smoke it and react to it, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of the time I throw this, I'll probably start throwing this within the next couple of weeks. These fish are about to be on beds. So
here too.
Once they're off the beds, they're going to be feeding up, and those glide baits are going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited to start trying those.
Yeah, summertime shade. They really love the shade. You can throw the Citizens in the trees, and just, you know, you can skip them real easy, throw them up in those trees and roll it out. And
is it like, do you worry about getting, I mean, I know you're on a boat, so like, I know it's a lot easier to get things out. I'm like, cause that's what I worry about most, is if I get snagged, I'm out of luck, you know, like that's it. I got to just accept it, you know, but I know what a boat. So like, do you still get snagged a lot and you just get it out more, or like, is it somewhat weedless, or is there a method to it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I get snagged a lot. And I don't know if you've been following me long enough to see some of my videos where I go swimming. And,
I have.
and go get the baits. But my motto is no bait left behind.
There you go. Hey, that's how I feel. You should see me when I'm out on the pond and it gets caught in a tree way over here, and I'll start like teetering with it.
Yeah, just get up in that tree and get it out.
Yep, pretty much. I'll have it literally the other day. I had it fall down. It like came down a branch, and it was hanging there, and I pulled on it and I saw it go straight up, and I was like, it's not even worth me pulling it, because it was high. It was like super high. I was like, I'm not going to pull it all the way up. So I literally walked over and like tried to put more line out, and I sat there and tried to make it shimmy, and it came back to me. I cut it off the line and I just reeled the rest of it in. I was like, I'm not even going to take it.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. I'm like, man, if it would have gone all the way up, because I'm talking like a high tree, if it would have gone up there, the chances of it getting snagged were just way too good. I was not worth it.
You're a mathematician. You're doing the odds. You're like, okay.
Yep.
X, Y, Z over 3. We're gonna lose this bait.
It's not gonna work. I think that's one of those things that I do like that little. I like that about pond hopping, because I think that does make you think a lot when it comes to where you cast, how you cast. And since I've started pond hopping, I definitely think more about when I get something stuck. I see so many people who are just like, it's done, and they just write it off, and they'll just tie something else on. And I'm like, I don't know about you, but even if it's something I got for free, I'm not trying to waste that money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got that kind of money to be blowing all the time. So I try to get it out as best I can. I take my time a lot of the time. And if I'm just totally done, then, so be it. But I'll take my sweet time trying to get it out.
And I think bank fishing makes you an all-around better angler as far as casting. I mean, I grew up literally when I was younger, I'd ride my bike to the lake and I would wade in the lake,
nice,
around people's docks, and I would fish all the docks.
Nice.
Fish around trees. So you're casting right-handed, you're casting left-handed, you're flipping,
you're doing
and
it. You got to do all
and
kinds because you got bushes up on you a lot of the times.
And
yeah,
then,
man.
Oh, what about the ones where there's trees all behind you, and you're like,
and you got to make sure. Yeah. Oh, I did that.
You have like a 1 foot window.
Have you ever done it where you forgot it was there and you like went back and then came full force?
I've been there.
I think it's just one of those. It really makes you think about where you cast. I mean, even on a boat, I sit there and think about it because of the fact that I'm just so more I'm not used to that kind of open water. I'll get on the deck of a boat and I'm just like, woo, it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't gotta worry about anything but hitting the person who's with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure have you ever done that?
I know. I've been hooked multiple times.
Yeah. I guess that's the joy of being the guide, right? Not the one who's learning.
Yeah. Yeah. I think last year I got hooked 3 times. One was a jerk bait. No, 2 were jerk baits. And then I think it's probably more like 4 or 5 times.
Jeez.
But I try when I do guide trips, I try to throw, 1 hook.
Yeah. Right.
one hook baits, preferably small ones.
Right. That way, if it goes in, it comes out a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm trying to sit here and think. We've been talking for a good little while now. And you like your big swim baits. I'm sitting here thinking, like, because I know I can keep talking, but I think my mind just likes to really draw blanks at this point because I don't write scripts or anything. So I'm like, we've gone over what size reel do you have?
I used to throw a 1,000, and now I throw a 2,500, the Shimano Stratic 2,500.
Okay.
And I still have not dabbled with the 3,000, but I heard the 3,000 is basically the same size as the 2,500, but it just has a bigger spool on it.
Yeah, I was about to say it just is a difference on spool. I thought like the body itself, I guess, could be, but when you're dealing with it, I've never even heard of like a 2,500. Like I didn't even know they made a thing like that in between. Like, so what's the deal? That's interesting. I've never even heard of an in between size like that.
Yeah, I like it. I like the 2,500. It took me a second to get used to from the 1,000, but it's a nice reel. It's a good size. I mean, I'm not a big guy, so my hands fit very nicely on this little handle here, little dainty handle.
Dainty hands. It's okay. Yeah. I have dainty hands. It's fine. It's not a bad thing.
But yeah, I like it from the 1,000 to the 2,500. I like it better. It's more solid. It's got a bigger spool on it. The line seems to come off of it better, especially if I'm fishing for bass too.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do need to try the 3,000.
Yeah. Does it have? See, I'm not as the most experienced with spinning rods. I have a couple of them, but like when it comes to like the drag force and everything like that, does like, like is it? Do you use bait casters a lot?
Yes. Oh, okay. Let's talk about drag with these baits.
Let's do it. That's what I'm trying to get into that, but I don't know how to get into it with spinning reels. So that's why you saw me go over to bait casters because I know bait casters. Yeah, go for it. I want to talk about the drag with that.
So with my setups with these micro swim baits, I have this. I'm very OCD on a lot of things.
Oh, me too.
It's gotta be perfect.
Perfect. Yep.
It's gotta be perfect. So you have a tolerance with this where if you have too much drag that's coming out, you're not going to hook the fish like properly because it's got to have enough force to get up into that roof of the mouth. And sometimes if you hit them in that one hard spot in the roof of the mouth and maybe it doesn't hook, but it bumps up and it hits their lip. So you've got to have enough force on there to drive the hook in, but not too much force because I've done this. Yeah. Where my drag is a little bit too tight and I hit it a little bit too hard and the leader will break.
Oh, wow.
So, because I mean, you're throwing 6 to 8 pound and you're tied to braid. So the braid doesn't stretch at all.
No.
So all that force is going right to that knot.
And what kind of knot are you tying there? Sorry to stop you.
I just use a double uni knot.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Is that where you talk about where it connects? I was talking about what do you use on the weight too? But yeah, I use double uni knot too.
I use a polymer knot or a improved clinch knot.
Okay, so it's not your knot that's busting.
Yeah, so it'll break right at the leader because all that force is going straight to the braid. The braid's not stretching at all.
Wow.
So that knot is gonna just crack, especially at 6 pound. When you have 6 pound test, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't.
Wow.
So you've got to have the drag set perfect. The hook set's got to be good, where you're not driving it too hard, but you're not driving it, too less.
Too little. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your drag, like these I love these Stratics. They're super smooth. So when I set into that fish, I want to hear drag coming out. And when I'm fighting that fish, I want to hear drag peeling
constantly
off.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's constantly allowing the fish to move, but I'm also constantly putting pressure on the fish, and it's just a balance. It's like a dance. You got to have a little bit
I can get that for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially when you're fighting a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've tried the Alberto knots. I've tried all those other different knots. The double uni is just, it's easy to tie.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have any issues with it going through my guides, and I clip the tag ends super tight.
Yeah, same.
And I rarely have issues with it. I've had issues a couple times, but I think it's just because, like we were talking earlier about the pressure.
Too much drag. That's crazy. See, I've never had that. Well, I don't use spinning. I don't think I've ever had it where it just like tore right at the leader. So that's and it's like that's what normally happens, right? You said it's happened more than once where that. So it's just all about that pressure. That makes sense though. The drag can change everything. The drag will change you from catching a big one to it just pulling right off because of your drag being set too high or whatever, or too loose. There's a lot of times where it'll be set too loose and you can't set the hook at all because it just,
especially on bait casters, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Where you'll take it after not fishing for a couple of days and you forget to check your drag. And notorious with Shimano's, I mean, they'll somehow magically loosen up. I don't know how it happens, but it happens to me all the time.
I've seen so many videos with guys who have with people who have Shimano's, and they'll swear that somebody did it to them or as a prank or something like that. So then they're stuck trying to find who did it to them.
Yeah, you've got to always check that. And I've got my Shimano Tranks, which I use for my swim bait stuff. And that one loosens up more than any of my other ones, but you just always have to go through your routine every time you get up.
I wonder why.
You grab your rod, check the drag. Okay, drag's good, but yeah, where you'll go to set the hook, especially on the big swim bait side, and you'll be
and then it just comes going.
And you'll start reeling, and it's just spinning, nothing's happening.
Nothing's there.
And then you lose a fish.
Yeah,
it's like
that's one of the most common ways. I feel not common, but I feel like a lot of people know that feeling when you don't know your drag well. So really know your drag on your settings and get it right. Because I won't say to have it. I tend to like mine on the tighter side of things for a bait caster. I've never really messed around with it much on a spinning combo, I guess, because I don't fish them as often, but it makes sense with what you're saying. And I guess it kind of applies to both profiles anyway, but sorry, I have a stutter. And so it comes out sometimes. I have to literally stop myself. A bait caster and a spinning reel, they both, I guess it can apply to both of them as far as you want to make sure it's at the right setting. But with a bait caster, I guess it seems like with bait casters, you might want them. Personally, I like them on the tighter side. With a spinning reel, do you like them on the tighter side?
The bait casters, I like mine on the tighter side because you can always push the button and free spool it and let them go. And that way, when you get that hook set, it's a deep hook set. I mean, I don't know, unless I'm fishing a jerk bait on my bait casting stuff, all my stuff is pretty tight. It's not pretty tight, cinched down. Same. Unless I'm throwing jigs on braid or a frog on braid. Then
something you don't want any stretch in. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But for my spinning, just because I'm using light line, if I'm using maybe a shaky head on 12-pound test, then it's tighter. It's not cranked down all the way, but it's definitely tighter. But when I'm using 6-pound or 8-pound test, I'm connected to braid on these little things. I want it fairly.
I want some kind of give. Yeah. That makes sense. Lighter line is just finicky. You know, I like lighter
especially
line.
when it's connected to braid, because that braid does not stretch. So I'm only
right.
Let's talk about leaders.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Hey!
Go for it.
So a lot of guys don't like their leader to go any further than the tip of their rod because they don't like the knot going through that.
Right.
I do both ways. If I'm guiding, I'll usually do it before the rod tip. That way it's not going through there. And then also, if it's a long leader and it's going through your guides and you say you put it up for the night, that line will get crimped at the tip, at the rod tip, and then it creates a little bit of memory. So before I go out, if I have like a couple day old line, I'll take it. Like this one I had today, it's got a little bit of memory on the tip. I'll just take it and I'll just kind of stretch it out just to get that crimp out of there. And
that doesn't crimp up at all by your hand? I'm just curious. Like it doesn't have any kind of, it actually straightens out and everything.
It'll straighten out. Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Memory, it just forms memory around that tip. But I typically will, so I got my bait right here. I don't know if you can see my knot.
Not really. I was like, not really. It's like teeny tiny in there. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting super close to the camera and everybody's like, what are you doing?
So when I hook my bait onto my spinning rod, I just want to make sure that knot doesn't go into the reel.
Okay.
So that's what I like to try to do. I like to try to keep the knot out of the reel. I don't want it to go into the reel.
Okay. So okay, that makes sense. So that way it doesn't spin around it and get memory.
You just so it doesn't go into the reel itself.
Okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, sorry, my process is like a lot of people use like 6 to 8 foot long, and so you're talking about like half that, right?
I'm using let's see, this is a 7 foot rod, so 7. I'm at that same length.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that it's not going into the reel. I'm not storing that knot in the reel. So it'll go into the reel when I'm reeling it up to cast. Right. But when I'm storing it, I don't want it to be in the reel.
I got you.
I know it sounds weird. It's like all my OCD stuff.
You know, hey, you have your reasons. You know what I mean? No judgment.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about what my reason is on that actually, but it's just for some reason it's like I don't want it to be in the reel. If that makes any sense.
I don't even know if I have the knot. You got me wondering now at this point if my leader's that long and how it sits over there. Because I mean, it makes sense to me if you wouldn't want it in the reel, because like if the fluorocarbon's there and it's in the reel itself, then it would get more memory that way. Like it would get more, you know.
That's definitely true.
And then so that's what I thought. But I mean, if the knot's sitting, I don't know. Like I wonder if that actually affects the
I think it's probably because I don't want the knot getting stuck on the line. I think that's more or less why.
Okay.
Because if that knot goes in the reel and then it makes a couple loops with the leader, there's a possibility that knot might get stuck on the leader itself.
And then that'll just mess up your whole performance later on.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Possibly. I don't know.
Hey, you know, it sounds good.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. I just don't want the not to get stuck.
Yeah. But the thing is too, you want a long leader here just because like I'm throwing high visibility line,
right?
So that you can see your line in the water, but you also don't want those fish to see the high visibility line. So you're using like a 8 to 10 foot leader,
right?
To get it far enough away so that they see the bait, and then there's the fluorocarbon,
right?
And then the leader's like way
over there. They don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah.
They avoid that line a lot of the times, or unless you're a panfish or a bluegill and for some reason like to bite at bright line. Does that happen with everybody? I guess whenever I throw any kind of braid and it sits right above some sort of bluegill, for some reason the bluegill love to bite at my braid.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's just bluegills being bluegills.
They're weird. They're a lot of fun sometimes if you're not getting anything. I got the day I actually adopted Scout. It's actually really interesting. I went out and I was going out and I was just going to I had to make some intros and outros for videos that I had forgotten to make because I had just put my GoPro on and went. So I was out there and I was like, I'm going to make some intros, outros, and do some fishing. So I was just going to catch some bluegill. And I get out there and the lady at the Humane Society texts me and she says, okay, well, there was Scout and then there was another one that we were looking at that was his brother. And somebody had come that day to look at the two of them. And I was like, you know, just let me know which one gets adopted. And, you know, then I'll let you know if I want to come see it. Because he was the one I wanted. And not to be rude to his brother, but I just had a better feeling about him, you know? And so the lady let me know that he was still available. And so I was literally out fishing. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to go fishing. I'll go adopt a puppy instead or go figure it out. Because I wasn't 100% sure. I feel like you should meet the puppy first or the dog first before you commit to it. So yeah. I wanted to at least go meet him, and it just worked out so well. And I was out fishing when all that happened, and I think it's kind of funny. And I was like, it's a mission to go catch panfish. I was like, I don't ever do that. But of course, the day that I try to do it, then I can't fully go out doing it. I caught like 6 or 7 of them in a matter of like 15 minutes because I had some bread. Bread will catch any bluegill, I feel like. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, ADD again. There I go.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go back to, your roots, right?
Yep.
And you got to catch some panfish.
Yeah, it can be fun, especially like I said, I went out on like I had like other things in mind. I just wanted to kind of more or less get out too. Like I wanted to target bass, but when I target bass, it does take a lot more thought process. There are smarter fish to catch. Bluegill are so easy to catch, and it's just kind of entertaining in itself. It was like, I'm going to make a video while I'm trying to make up for other videos that I hadn't finished, I don't know. Yeah. I was being weird and I ended up adopting a puppy at the end of the day. But I don't know. You got any other, anything else you want to tell anybody? Any secrets? You said the best thing to do is just kind of steady retrieve it. If that's not working, is there any other way that you prefer to retrieve it?
Slow dragging on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works all year round, or like you said, the best time to use it. What if you had to like rank the seasons? How would be, which is from best to worst?
I'm trying to think outside the box of live scope because when I'm fishing these, I'm literally targeting areas like brush piles, rock piles that I can literally see fish on. So I'm casting on fish.
Yeah.
And I'm casting on fish year round. So I'm trying to think when the best time of year would be to use this technique without, like, say I sent you out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Go out there, use this, I don't know, summertime.
Yeah.
But then summertime, you have so many other options to catch fish though.
I know that's where like a lot of the debate will come in, because a lot of people will be like, well, if they're biting this, then I just would throw this instead. Is that, what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of that. And that's where it's always about how you feel and what you feel is more comfortable in your hand.
Okay, let's do this then. Let's say, because I know that I can't go out there right now and catch them on top water. I mean, I probably could at this point, but say we're in, January, February. I can't go out there and catch them on top water.
Right.
I'm not going to go out there with a square bill in the middle of winter and catch them on a square bill.
You might be able to catch them on a lipless, but a square bill is not as common.
Yeah, probably not. And then I would say wintertime is probably when it shines the most, is when you can go out there, because you can work it really slow and just in that little tail. The tail on these are probably the best for the wintertime. It's just real slow,
more subtle. Yeah,
very subtle. This one's fast,
and that makes all the difference sometimes, right?
Yeah, they look very different. And then these are very fast, the Kitex.
Yeah, I was about to say those are the Kitex. Yeah, I've heard they have a faster wobble.
The saucy swimmers. And then I don't know if I have any kind of like these. So these would be the ultimate winter small swim baits, the little Huddlestons.
I've heard of them.
And they've got,
oh wow,
it's not a boot tail, it's more of a It's a paddle. It's a boot tail, not a paddle tail.
Okay, I was about to say that's what I wondered if that's what you meant. I was like, do you mean it's a boot tail?
Yeah. So it's got the boot tail, so it's very and it barely moves.
And boot tails are typically like thicker, right? In that area, they're thicker, I feel like. Yeah,
and this would be. And then it's all based upon, water temp as well, right? So the coldest it got here was like 47, 48.
That must be nice.
so I'm still able to catch them on the paddle sail.
Yeah.
But once it gets down to like the mid to lower 40s, it's going to be really hard. And then if I'm using that's the time when it's that cold, or I'm just dragging this thing.
Okay.
Like, across the bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't get terribly cold there. I mean, the coldest it got in Texas was probably last year, right?
Yeah, it was freezing.
Yeah, when y'all had that. Yeah, well, I mean, just welcome to the rest of the country at times.
Yeah.
Texas had no idea what to do. Oh.
No, we had one night it was 3 degrees and the other night it was 7.
I remember y'all. I felt for y'all. I don't even think it didn't get that bad here. Like, I felt for y'all out there, and then for so many people's power to be out and everything too. That's rough, man. That was cold. Like, I'm thinking it's cold right now because it's like, I don't even know. Well, if my watch would show me, 36 degrees is what my watch says. I don't know how accurate that is. I think it's actually colder now, but yeah. And I'm sitting here like it's cold, and I have a heater going, but it's like a tiny little.
That's why I moved here from Northern Illinois. I was like,
but you can handle the cold at least, right? From Chicago.
I do like to fish when it's cold here because nobody else is out there.
Yeah, right. I think that's the big reason why I like going out during the winter time too, or like when it's colder, because I don't have a problem. I really don't have an issue. Let's say it was the middle of the day right now and it was 36 degrees out right now, and I don't like wind. So if the wind's blowing, I will more debate it. I don't know if I'll go out when it's windy and cold because it's just like hell. It's just not fun.
It goes right through everything.
It hurts, man.
Yeah. As long as the hands stay warm and the feet stay warm, I'm good.
I can do it, especially when the sun's shining, because when you can get right under the sun, it can be super cold and you'll still get warm. I feel like, and you adapt to it. I do anyway. I don't know. I have an easier time adapting, and nobody's ever out fishing during the winter, and like even in the fall time. The fish are
as big as they're gonna be.
Yeah,
because they're bulked up.
Yep. That's actually.
I think February is my best year, or my best season or month. February is my best month.
Statistically,
words are hard.
Yeah, it's fine. It's late, and it's almost 10 o'clock my time. It's fine. I'm right there with you. But I think statistically, Georgia Bassmaster, he actually made a comment on one of my videos. I'd have to go back and look, but he made a comment and he said statistically, I think he said February was like when you catch either, I have to go back and look now because I don't want to misquote, but he said something about being when you catch the biggest fish. I think it's either the biggest fish or the most, but I think it was the biggest fish. For something about it's just when they're all bulked up, and I guess that's when everything starts happening. Because I caught my PB in February, so I had mentioned it. I think it was that video actually where I was like, I caught my PB, and he made that he mentioned that February apparently is statistically like the best month to be able to catch bass and stuff like that. So one of those things. I had no idea. I caught my first PB. I caught in December when it was 5.3 of not last year, the year before, and it was dead winter and nobody was out there and it was cold as all get out. I was layered up and found a bait ball and found like they were stacked underneath this bait ball.
Nice.
Yeah, it was epic. It was one of my best days of fishing. But
you'll remember that forever for sure. Yeah, I said you'll remember that forever.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, and I've caught, like I said, I caught the 5.86. But like that day when I caught the 5.3, I literally had broken my PB 3 times that day. Like my previous PB was only like 3 something. And then like the first fish I caught was like 3 something. The second one I caught was closer to 4. And then I caught a 4-pounder and then I caught like a 5.3. Like it just kept getting better.
You're like, this is the best day.
Yeah,
ever.
I was like, if I just stay out here, am I going to get a big one? No, it didn't happen. I caught the 5.3 and then it was like, okay, go home.
Nice.
But any other tips, tricks, techniques, anything crazy with this finesse swim bait that you got mentioned or hidden away?
I mean, a tip would be make sure you got plenty on you, especially if you don't have forward facing sonar, because you're going to probably hang up and lose a lot of them.
Yeah. Do you ever use super glue or anything on your hooks to keep them on there?
I don't. Most of these hooks stay pinned pretty well.
Cool.
I mean, like this one's pretty beat up. You can kind of see it's coming apart.
Yeah.
And I still can use it. Oh, here's a tip.
There you go.
When they do get beat up like this and they start ripping at the hook, take the bait, pull it out, and just flip it around and run it upside down. And you can get another couple fish out of it.
Okay. And do you notice any difference in hookup ratio with an upside down tail? I've actually heard that's a better way to fish it with the tail upside down. But yeah, I don't know.
They'll still eat it.
It's just like whatever, they'll eat it regardless. I mean, I just was wondering if you had an opinion. I've heard people say that if you rig it upside down, it gets bigger bites, but clickbait's a thing too. So
yeah. No, I've had no issues with them. They haven't questioned it.
They'll eat it either way.
Yeah, they'll just go and smash it still. So you can catch a few more out of your bait before it goes to complete hell, and then you have to throw it out.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. And that's only I've only done that on these spark shads. I haven't been able to do it on the Hazadong. I think it's just a different profile.
Is it like a different type
of
plastic?
I'm sure you could probably do it with these too.
Probably, yeah. It's just like it's got a thin profile to it, but it's probably possible.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna see.
Let's see what she looks like.
Let's see what it looks.
I mean, yeah, that looks decent.
That
right?
almost looks like a dead bait fish. They might actually, because of the belly being on top. See, with that one, I like that because the color profile difference, you actually look like your belly's on top. So it might actually look more like appealing to them with that because of the two-tone color there.
I'll do some research and development and get back to you on that.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, I need to know the real deal on that. Especially since you're watching sonar, you got to let me know how they react to the upside down one.
And then these Gamakatsus, these suckers hold better than any other ball head that I've ever used. They've got a really big flange. There's 2 flanges on there, and they hold. I don't need any glue on these at all.
Nice.
They hold.
And you don't have any problems like busting noses or anything going over that?
No, they suck on there really good.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. And it doesn't shock me.
Upside down.
Gamakatsu's like the ish. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, they're badass.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Let's see. I guess the Kitex, these things are very soft, and I know there's different. Like the Strike Kings have some. You got the Saucy Swimmers. You got the 6 Sense, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds. But I really like these, but they definitely are very soft, and they get tore up real easy.
So they go through like 1 fish and maybe 2.
Yeah, a couple fish, and then they're tore up.
That's tough because a lot of people will tell you that
some people will still.
You'd rather catch fish than have good quality and not catch fish, or better, like tougher plastic, I guess, not quality. Because quality, I think, is a matter of opinion. Is it quality if it catches fish, or is it quality if it's lasting? You know what I mean? Like. You want something in the middle. That's of course what everybody wants, but you can't have the best of both worlds in most situations.
Yeah. Like I was talking on earlier about having lots of baits. There are many times where I'll throw a brand new spark shad on and I'll get bit and they'll bite the tail right off. And I'll just be
Have you ever thrown something like that out there with just like the tickle tail kind of deal with no tail? Not like the jerkbait tail, but like the Yoda worm, like that tickle tail action, just a single.
Yeah. Summertime, yes.
Yeah.
Summertime, yes. Wintertime, there's something about that tail that they just, because I've definitely tried it. Where they bite it off. Yeah. And it's just got this little,
just a point. There you go.
We're just gonna do that.
Yeah, man, my bad. You don't have to waste your bait.
No, this one's trashed anyways. So Summertime for sure, but in the wintertime, there's just some, and I'm sure
like
if you can fish multiple different lakes and maybe see one lake's different than the other, but personally, I have not been able to get them to bite it without the tail.
That's cool. Yeah. I wondered. I mean, I feel like everybody does that to some degree because like when something comes in after they've bit the tail off and I feel like everybody's guilty of being like, I don't feel like changing it. Let me just see if they'll take it, and then you just throw whatever's on there anyway. I'm guilty of that. So, but they make baits out there that have that single tail action.
Or like a fluke.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But the flukes have that. Well, yeah, no, you're right. I'm thinking of the dart. It has that, like, it has the opposite paddle tail kind of thing. It's more like a mermaid tail or something. I don't know what you want to call that.
Yeah.
There probably is a word for it, and I'm not that smart. I don't know what that's called, what kind of tail that'd be called. It's a different kind of tail.
Like a fork tail?
Yeah. Is that what it's called? A fork tail?
I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's the ones that go that way. That makes sense. It could be a fork tail.
Yeah, like a split tail or a fork tail, or kind of like these.
Yeah, kind of. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So that's called a fork tail. See, I learned something. Well, I've learned a lot, but that just, I always like learning.
What else?
I love it. He's like, I'm going into nitty gritty. I'm just chilling, I'm hanging.
I mean, I've got some bigger Hazardon shads that I use.
Are they too big? Do they get like a lot of attention?
They'll get the bigger bass.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to get bit, if you're not getting bit on something and the fishing's tough and you're grinding it out and you're like, man, this is a rough day, just downsize.
Yeah.
Downsize to a 3-inch on a little head. And I mean,
simple profile. This happens to me.
And if I'm not catching them on, a crankbait or jerkbait or whatever, just downsize and I'll start. I mean, most of the fish are going to be smaller.
Yeah.
But you'll run across big fish. I mean, I've caught 5, 6, 8, 9 pounders off this little bait.
Yeah. It's like you're all reliable essentially, right?
Yep.
It's like what you got in your back pocket. When nothing else works, that's what's going to work for you, especially in clear water settings, I suppose, too. Mm-hmm. Seems to get the job done. I'm going to have to come out there and try it at some point. I have some confidence in the plastic.
Head. Huh? I'll downsize to a shaky head with a robo worm.
Okay.
They won't eat it.
No?
I'll downsize to like a 4-inch Senko. They won't eat it. And I'll be fishing hydrilla and little grass patches where I know they're in there. I can see them.
Yeah.
And I'll just drag stuff through there, and then I'll throw this little swim bait on, and it's like there's something about it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like they can't resist it.
Yeah. And it's almost like I feel like a lot of it has a lot to do with your confidence too in that bait too, I think, as far as, because when you throw something confident in your hand, you tend to know how to retrieve it. You tend to know how to put it by them. You tend to know how to make it look good to the fish too, because you've used it so much too. Mm-hmm. So I think confidence has its own role. It's not everything, but I think confidence does have a lot to do with, especially when you want to stick with something, you can throw it out there and not catch fish on it, but you can have so much confidence in it that you have a really hard time throwing anything else because eventually it'll catch something. But yeah, I mean, that's swim baits seem to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been using the Saucy Swimmer on the weighted belly hook here more recently, and it's just been working. And being a content creator, you always want to kind of change it up and do something different. But when I get out there, I'm always like, I just want to put I want to put on what's going to catch the fish. And if that's what's catching the fish yesterday and it's what's catching the fish today, then there's just going to be another video, I guess, of that catching fish today. Because I don't want to throw anything that's not working. So I'm definitely getting more confidence in the smaller swim bait game. But
the bait fish profile is definitely, I feel like the bass want that more than
anything.
Most baits, like the creature baits. I feel like they're harder to get because they might have, pinchers or they might think it's a crawdad or something.
Yeah.
But for them just to sneak up behind a minnow and just to slurp it up, for them it's just easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's their preference for sure. I mean, you go to any kind of, I mean, at my ponds, you see crawfish all the time. And when I first, a couple years ago, that's all I would really throw was just a Texas rig with some kind of plastic on it, whether it be a Cinco or a craw. But I found myself going more towards craws, and I love throwing it. But I like to be versatile. So I started using more and more different things. And that bait fish profile, whether it be in a lipless or a crankbait or however you're trying to imitate it, it definitely seems to get more attention than, in my opinion, than a crawfish too. Even though I'll still throw a crawfish because they have their season, you know, but it's tough to get away from things like that. I have a hard time getting away from a lipless a lot of the time. Any time of the year, I'll try to throw a lipless just because I have so much confidence in it that I'll at least try it, you know?
They hate it. They want to just eat it.
They do. They want to destroy it. Yeah.
It vibrates so much.
Yep. And that's what happened. I literally threw it like right on top of when I caught my 5.86. I caught my PB on the trap line rip knocker, and it literally got it right at the bank. I think it was chasing it, and it thought it was chasing a bait fish coming to the bank, and it just attacked it. And I saw the whole thing. That was the funny part. It was like, it's early for sight fishing. Sight fishing's not happening yet. You know, but I saw that fish literally come and attack it, and she took it out like she was trying to run off with it, and I had her right there. Had she not been that close, that would have been a very good fight. And it was fun, but it was just real quick because she was right there, and I was just like, whoop, gotcha, you know. But had she been a little further out, it probably would have been a hell of a fight because she came out of there like with a vengeance. She was not wanting to come out. But I mean,
so
any other tips? Huh?
I was just going to bring up one little lipless crankbait thing that I'd seen previously. A couple of weeks ago, I was fishing out at OH Ivy, and you know, just some random lake, right?
Yeah, I was like, sure.
And the water temp was like 46, 47.
Nice.
And we'd located a bunch of fish. They were real slow, sluggish, and the guy that I was with, he had thrown an A-rig, and he was throwing an A-rig out there, reeling it in. And then it was getting close to the boat, so he just started burning it in. And when he did that, the fish, just 4 or 5 of them came off the bottom, just like ran right to it. And I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, cold water. I thought these fish were very sluggish, but he was burning that thing in. So I ended up putting on a lipless in 46, 47 degree water, and I was burning that thing as fast as I possibly could.
Wow.
And it was triggering those fish to come up off the bottom and hit that thing.
Wow. Yeah. See, I don't typically
it just
do
changed
it that
my
way.
perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I usually do the yo-yo method where it was like a combination. You know, I was doing the yo-yo method, but then as I was I thought I was done with my cast. So I was actually steady retrieving it in when I caught my PB. So I think she actually did prefer the steady retrieve versus the yo-yo because she didn't attack it until I literally thought I was done. I was like, all right, I'm done with that one. And I started bringing it in, and she attacked it when it was going probably at its fastest and just a steady retrieve. So yeah,
it's very interesting, the things that you learn and you observe with that sonar as well.
Yeah. A lot of people think that the bass actually stop. They don't ever stop eating, and they slow down, but like they don't slow down with their movement. Apparently, like their bodies still move quick, but as far as how often they eat, like you can catch a bass in summertime and you can go out 7 days a week and you can catch, well, I don't know if you can, but like essentially the same bass is going to be eating every day because it's got to keep up with the metabolism and everything that's doing during the summer with the warm waters. But in the wintertime, you know, they may eat once a week, you know, every few days. So it's like the likelihood of catching it's just not as common, but they move pretty quick in the water. I love watching underwater footage since I don't have like sonar or anything like that. I really do like to watch underwater footage videos that a lot of guys have made just to see how they react to certain baits and just to see how they move, you know, throughout the whole year, because it is a big like misconception that people honestly think that bass just stop biting. They think they stop moving. They think they go into some crazy sleep hibernation, and they don't.
Yeah.
They're
because we
going.
do.
Huh?
You know, just because we do. When it gets cold,
right.
we want to slow down. We just want to wrap up in a blanket.
Right.
And, you know, order DoorDash and have it come to the house.
I did that a couple days ago, actually. I ordered Uber Eats, but yeah, same difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. But yeah, that's another subject for another day.
Yeah, that's all right. We can always go into it eventually. I'd love to do it again too, by the way. I've learned a lot. The finesse game to me is huge for me because I am a bank angler. So like the whole going into when you said you were like, I like big swim baits, and I was like, cool, you know, that'll be fun to talk about. And then you mentioned how you have like gotten real into this finesse profile. I got super interested in that because I like smaller profiles. To me, I truly believe that, you know, if you aren't getting bit, throw something smaller and you're bound to hopefully get something. That's kind of like the trick, but especially in pressured waters. And I feel like with clear waters, it's kind of a similar situation. I don't know if you would consider clear waters pressured. I don't know how you'd consider that, but they seem to have their similarities as far as how the fish want to be.
Yeah. And then there's pressured water I feel like people think like, oh, it's a pressured lake. And they think that people are fishing it a lot and that's the pressure. There is pressure from, you know, outside forces as far as like, we have a lot of people here that wake surf, wakeboard, you know, slalom ski on the lake, a lot of boat traffic. There's a lot of people on that lake. And I feel like that is another pressure that they have. And it's not just fishing pressure, it's boat traffic. It's, you know, a multitude of different things.
Yeah.
So I have noticed, especially in the summertime on these lakes, Saturday and Sunday are very hard to catch fish. But you get to like Wednesday and Thursday, and that's like your prime time to catch fish. So the weekends, these fish kind of like you can still catch them, but I feel like they just shut down.
It's like the more people there are, the less likely you are to catch fish, regardless of how those people are there, whether they're fishing, wakeboarding, like you said. Somehow, if there's more people, there's less fish catching.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely
But then to the contrary, too, I've caught fish, and I don't know if these fish here, there's a lake called Ladybird Lake downtown. And I don't know if these fish are just used to people on kayaks and stand-up paddles and stuff, but I've literally caught fish schooling underneath people's paddle boards. Like I'm watching them on the live scope. They're chasing bait. I'm casting at them.
I mean, maybe they have adapted, you know. I wonder if yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, they do adapt accordingly. That's the thing about fishing,
right? It's always a different variable. It's always trying to figure out the next thing and like how they're at. It's a different variable every day.
All the time. It's constantly learning. Yeah, you constantly are learning. I think that's one of the big things I like about fishing, truthfully, is I'm just it never ceases to amaze me. There's always something new. And it's, you know, like you said, like it's kind of interesting to see how they act on one body of water and then turn around, go to another one, and it's almost as if they're adapted to that same kind of pressure that would be on another pond, you know, or another body of water, you know. But yeah, I love that about fishing. It never ceases to just amaze the fact that it's always something. There's always something to learn.
You get humbled real quick. One day you go out and you're like, oh man, like you're feeling good. You're
tearing it up.
Yes, I had such a good day. I'm going to go back tomorrow. And then the next day you just get skunked. You're like, why do I
What
fish?
happened? And it could be the same body of water, you know, and you literally won't catch a fish at all. I've done that. Or what I'll be guilty of doing is I'll throw a bait at one pond and then I'll go to another pond and I'll try to throw that same bait. And I'll throw it for a while before I learn my lesson that just because it's the same bait doesn't mean it's not the same pond. So they're not wanting the same thing. And, you know, it's constant change and you got to really pay attention to your elements. I think that has a big role in where you fish and how you fish. But
and then there's some days where you can throw anything in your box and you're just not going to get bit. And that's happened to me too. Where
that happens to everybody.
You can see the fish and you're literally dangling it in front of their face and they're just not having it.
I've had that happen. I've actually had that happen on a couple years ago. I saw a bedding fish and I threw a couple of different things I threw one thing at it and I was trying to get it. I think it was like I really don't remember what it was that I was throwing, but it wasn't something that sunk. It kind of went by, or no, mine went into the bed. It was a Texas rig or something and it sank down into the bed. The fish wanted nothing to do with it. So my buddy, I was like, man, just try, you know, throw what you have and see if it'll take it. And he threw, I don't think it was a jerk bait. It was some kind of crankbait or square bill. And it came right through the nest. And the freaking bass just ate it up. And I was like, I literally just sat there for probably 10 or 15 minutes on that fish. It wasn't long or anything, but it's like a matter of, I sat there and I tried.
Yeah.
And you just threw out one time and it took what you wanted. And that just tells you that it really does depend on what you're throwing sometimes.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
But all right. Any other tips, tricks, anything crazy to see if there's anything else we can think of? You got all the knowledge over there.
Yeah, I think that's it for tonight.
Yeah, cool.
But it was awesome to do this with you.
Yeah, it was fun.
We'll have to do it again. Maybe next time we'll talk big swim baits, or
yeah, we can
talk
do that.
jerk baits, or man, I've got a lot of fun stuff to divulge.
Those are actually two things I'm not the most confident in. I've thrown jerk baits before, but I can't seem to like line up right with a cadence or something like that. I don't know if it's just because I think I overthink it. I think I overthink the twitch part of it, really.
Yeah. So a tip on that.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Like this, so the forward-facing sonar, it's game changer, and it opens your eyes to so many different things. So there's a lot of times when, especially with the small baits, the big baits, the jerk baits, especially with the jerk baits, there's times where they don't want to go catch the bait. Okay. They just don't. Like, you could throw it and be 5 feet from them, and they just keep doing their thing. But if you put it right, like if you come up right behind them and you put it right above their head, and they're just like, ooh, and they just smoke it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it's just, is your bait in the zone, in their zone? And and without the forward-facing sonar, you don't know where their zone is. So you're blind casting, you're hoping to get, you know, is your bait far enough out? Is it deep enough down?
Yeah, you got to get a sweet spot. Yeah.
Sometimes they're schooling and they're just out of control, and they're going anywhere to get it. But most of the time when I'm fishing a jerk bait, especially around brush piles, I'm literally putting that bait as close to the brush pile as I can without getting hung up. Yeah. And then they'll come out of the brush pile and they'll check it out, and they'll follow it, and they'll follow it, and they'll follow it, and then they'll finally eat it.
Nice.
So it's a lot about placement of the bait, but if you don't have the sonar, you don't know where the fish is.
Right.
So you're kind of just
blind casting.
I guess blind casting, making as many casts as you can to try to
line it up and figure out where they are. Yeah, I mean, sonar would be such a game changer for me, man. I tell you what, I think it'd be a game changer for anybody as far as being on the bank. I really do.
Yeah.
I really hope that they like figure that out eventually. Like, I don't mind I could throw a whole nother combo out if you needed me to, as long as it got the accurate sonar. You know, I'll throw a ball or whatever I can and just get the actual accurate sonar.
I feel like that eventually they're gonna, because the bank fishing is tough because you got to have something out there that's tracking your bait. So I feel like they're gonna have something out there eventually. I mean, the world we live in, the metaverse, all this stuff that's coming out, there's gonna be something, but like fish tracking technology where you cast something out there and it scans the whole entire area, and it tells you on your phone, like, there's 8 bass over here and there's 3 bluegill over here.
You don't even gotta tell me it's a bass, you know. I just want something like sonar just to see the splotch on the screen. There's
gonna be something eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah. I just hope we're still young enough to use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a whole, like I said, that'd just be a whole nother game change, because it would be fun to actually see it. I'm fascinated with sonar, even though I don't get a chance to use it or anything like that. When I talk about it, I know I'd love to use it just because I love to study the fishes, just the way they work, the way they change their their attitudes and everything, the way they react to certain things. Some things about that just fascinate me. And I like blind casting and figuring it out too. But I know that with the way my brain works, that would be just like the next level of like intricacy for me. And
I mean, I've seen so many times where, and I swear these fish talk to each other. It sounds crazy, but I will have a bait going through the water. I'm targeting a fish that's out there, and I'll get that fish to start fouling, and then another fish will come up to that fish, and then they both go down.
Yep.
Like
I've seen that.
That fish talk to that fish.
That one was like, just told it what that was.
we got to get out of here. And then they both took off.
Yeah.
And you see that, like, wow.
Have you ever seen, I've seen this happen more than once, actually, on ponds where they'll be bedding. And so when I'm bedding with ponds, you know, you see them everywhere. Yeah. And I'll throw spinnerbait or swim bait, something simple. And I'll throw it just right down the line and I'll just slowly, steady retrieve it coming. And I've seen it happen more than once where I'll have a male that'll come up to it, look at it, want it. And then this female comes out of nowhere and literally like deflects the male away from it and they both swim off. And I'm just like,
yeah.
When did I know that the females, like, I just, it's interesting to watch how, you know, people really do think that the fish are dumb, and they may not be the smartest, but they're pretty smart. Like they're smart. They're really not that dumb. You know, I know they're not like genius or anything like that, but they got it figured out when we're throwing stuff at them.
Absolutely.
But, all right, sure. Jay. It's 10 o'clock my time. I got to go in and go take the pup out and all that fun stuff. Absolutely. But I've had a great time tonight, man. I really have. I appreciate you joining me and talking all this with me. It's going to be a lot of fun throwing out the little baby swim baits. I enjoy throwing those out a lot of the times, but I want to get more confident. I don't do exposed hooks, so I'm going to have to start playing with that a little bit more. But I do appreciate you joining me tonight. I do definitely want to do it again soon. We'll figure out, I guess, talk about jerk baits because you seem to definitely like that one.
I love a good jerk bait. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll have to get on that one next time.
For sure. And then you'll have to come down, visit Texas. Yeah. I'll take you out on these finesse lakes.
I'm good. I'm down. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'll have to bring Scout too. He'll have to get used to a boat or something.
Yeah.
But all right, man, I'll talk to you soon, and I'll let you know when this is actually airing and everything. So that way, you know, so I'll let you know, so you know. But perfect. I'll send you a message and I'll talk to you soon. And yeah, man, I'll see you next time. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
I'll see you later. All right. Bye.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave you there. I hope you enjoyed that video, J-Man. I appreciate it so much. I can't wait to do it again. I know I say that every time, but that's because it really has been such a wonderful experience so far with this Talkin Tackle. I don't think I've even had a bad time yet. It's been so much fun. I've learned so much, and it's really cool just to see everybody's, you know, experience with it. So anyway, like I said, thanks again. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, turn on all your notifications so you know when the next video drops. And you guys know how it goes. We are out here fishing, we are out here catching, and we are out here really wanting to figure out some clear water lakes. I wonder how that water's. I really want to fish that now. Yeah, no complaints.
Standoffish about them. I think my garage door just opened up by itself. There. Oh no, she's recording me. Sorry, my bad. She's like doing the behind the scenes thing. Yeah. Can you give me that Gatorade?
Oh yeah, duh. Scout was like, I want to see.
That would be a good one for the end of the video.
That was funny.